From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I hope you are feeling the same. And it is time for the premier sports betting show. And yeah, pretty much we have put ourselves in position to, start off the week pretty well. Things are just kind of slow in the sports world nowadays, but baseball is always fun to talk about. And we still have, preseason and all that stuff to look forward to in the NFL, which is going to be coming up next week once get to the Hall of Fame game to start off things on the 3rd of August. So we have some fun stuff in store, but let's go ahead and jump into my first topic in hand, and that's going to be the NFL training camp I just mentioned starting this week. We got so many different storylines that go into camps, but then we have storylines of people that aren't even playing football anymore, and pretty much that's how you know that we're so close to the NFL season once they just start mentioning any NFL story. You know what I mean? So training camps have begun in the NFL. How fun is it to be a part of it as a fan? Well, I have a great memory of when I went to a training camp as a young child. And it was actually me visiting relatives in Cleveland, Ohio at the time. And I was the biggest Browns fan pretty much ever at that point in time. But I love the Raiders too, because being in Los Angeles, the LA Raiders were there, all that good stuff. So they were there as well too. So you can't forget about the Raiders. I was a big Raider fan as well. But the Browns had my favorite quarterback, Bernie Kosar. And we got to go to the old Cleveland training camp. This is about 1990 or so, around that time. And we went to and Bud Carson was the head coach at the time. We went to old John Carroll University. They weren't in Berea yet, but they were still way out. They were nowhere near the city of Cleveland or where we were at on the east side, 115th and St. Clair. So pretty much we had ourselves 117th. I'm sorry. So we made a nice little journey out there. My nephew was a baby at the time. I was about 5 years old. I'm not going to act like I was some grown person or old. That's why I said a young child. And my brother and my cousin. Then we all went. My dad drove us out there, and I'm not from Ohio. So but I have plenty of family in Ohio. So I shouldn't say I'm not from Ohio. I never lived out there like they did. You know what I mean? But I visited for months on end during the summertime. So pretty much, we go out there and it's packed. And Cleveland Browns fans are a very committed group. So they're all out there trying to get an autograph, trying to get a player to notice them, trying to get as much stuff as possible. So I'm this kid. I pull up there with my Hutch full-on football jersey, and pretty much it was like, I got on my favorite quarterback's number, Bernie Kosar, and everybody who's my age remembers the Hutch uniforms. Everybody got it for Christmas. Could go get it over at Toys R Us, and that's when I first was able to really fall in love with the logo for the Bucks. I used to love the Bucks helmet and all that good stuff. And I said, damn, I want one of their helmets. I didn't want one of their jerseys. I wanted one of their helmets. So pretty much I got that. And, I had a Marcus Allen one as well, too, because Raiders, I had the Raider one before I had the Browns one. So when I got it, I was so excited because it was Bernie Kosar, my favorite quarterback, and then my favorite team, the Cleveland Browns. So I got that orange helmet. I got those, and then the pants were matching pants of the actual pants that they wore as well too. So you had that brown and orange going down the stripe with those football pants. So I was ready. I was ready, and it had shoulder pads, and they had the shin pads and all that good stuff. So I get out there and we're watching, and we're watching it, having a good time, and then practice ends, and all of a sudden everybody's walking to the little, there's a row where the players walk through, and everybody's trying to get their autograph, everybody's trying to get something from the players, and usually it's tough for the players to get everybody, but for some odd reason, I don't know how he was able to see me, but he saw me right away, and it was Bernie Kosar. I looked up, it's Bernie. And he looked over and he saw me full on in the outfit, and I had a football in my hand. And he says, "Kid, throw me the football." I threw him the football, and he says, "Go out for a pass." He threw me a pass. I caught the pass. Everybody went crazy. And I always say, if we were a part of the internet today, if the internet was around at that time, that would have been a viral moment. That seriously, it would have been a very viral moment. And he was able to take a picture with me. And one of these days, I will go ahead and do all that, put it up, make sure that you guys see it. I have to go into a photo album that's at my house. So pretty much, once I can go in, once I have some time to do that, I will show you guys that that did happen. I don't have videotape of it, but I do have pictures of it. So that's a fond memory that I had of training camp. And if a kid can experience in that is so awesome. And I remember the adults weren't mad about it, like they would probably get mad about it today. But it was cool. Got to meet Bernie, got to meet Eric Metcalf. And also it was funny because Webster Slaughter was there, and Webster Slaughter didn't want to talk to any fans. And I didn't understand at that point why somebody didn't want to talk to their fans. But then as you get to know what his situation was in Cleveland at the time, you can understand why he wasn't so quick to, say what's up to fans, because he was in the middle of a contract issue at that time. And I really didn't know that as a kid. But nowadays, now you understand things a little bit more. And man, that was a great memory that I had. And never be shy about going to your team's training camp, and never be shy about dressing up as your favorite player as well either. You know what I mean? So, I was doing something that wasn't that popular at that time. You know what I mean? Where, kids go dress up as their favorite players and things like that. But man, that's always a memory that's going to stay with me. And I just wanted to talk to you guys about that because training camp has started. So let's go ahead and jump into my next topic in hand. And we're going to talk about, can Baylor finally get the elusive Big 12 title this season and be a possible Final Four team? Now, this team has been on the brink of being in position to win the Big 12 many years. And the last few years, they've had a good enough team that has been able to keep themselves in a good mojo somewhat and keep themselves afloat. And they were very close to possibly getting that title a few years ago. And they had some issues going on with their, with violations and things like that. So you couldn't give Baylor the same due as they would have got if, they didn't have those issues. Last year, they had a pretty good season, but they ran into some buzzsaws and, things didn't work out. But I think that this team has been put together very smartly, and they are some of the biggest, biggest underachievers that you could see in the biggest overachievers, I would say, because you don't have them ever is a top 5 team in the Big 12, but they keep winding up being in the top 5 year in and year out. And, they're preparing themselves for life without Texas and Oklahoma. So Baylor will be seen as a team, as a step-up team, as more of an elite team now in the conference, because they're a part of the what will be the original 6, because 6 other teams have left the Big 12. The Big 12 is not what it used to be. The Big 12 is, after Texas and Oklahoma leave, they only have Texas A&M, Baylor, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, and I'm trying to remember the last original team that's in the group. Because Oklahoma State's leaving, so you got Texas Tech, Baylor, Kansas State. Then you have, so it might be 4, because you got to remember Missouri and Nebraska left. Then you had Texas A&M leave as well too, so that's 3 who left. Then you got to count that you're having 2 more teams leave as well. And you got to always remember that Colorado left as well. So, pretty much, they've had 6 of their original teams leave the conference. Now, it's crazy because the Big 12 is not what the Big 12 originally was supposed to be. It was supposed to be the old Southwest Conference and the Big 8 coming together as one. And it just pretty much is spun out of control because, they only took 4 teams from the old SWC, and those teams hung around for as long as they could. But, they moved on, and that's how it is in sports. So pretty much that's where we're going now. And, you got TCU here, but TCU wasn't their original Big 12 member. So you have a team in the Bears who are ready to ascend to the top of the conference. They've already figured it out in the basketball world. Now they're trying to get their football team in a place to where they can be a consistent winner. And I think that they're really on the brink of that this year. And if you're looking for a wild card team, a team in this very wide open conference to bet on, I would say Baylor has the makings of a team that can be a good price for you moving forward. So with that, we're going to jump into the boxing world because we got a lot to talk about when it comes to boxing. And let's talk about what happened over the weekend. George Kambosas wins controversial majority decision over Maxi Hughes, who was the IBO champion coming into the fight. And what's next for the former 135 unified champ? Well, a lot of people, including myself, had Maxi Hughes winning the fight. I had Maxi Hughes winning the fight, 115, 113. I felt like he won a number of rounds in a row, and it got to the point to where George Kambosas did step on the gas, but it was just too late in my eyes. But there were 3 other judges that decided that that wasn't the case. He did get a 117, 111 score on one card. And then you got a 115, 113 score on another. And then the final judge scored it as a draw, 114, 114. I felt like the worst thing you could do here is make the fight a draw. But I do understand why the judges did choose Kambosas to win the fight, because the fight was kind of an ugly fight that was really not much going on each side. But the person that I felt through the shots that were the shots that were the significant shots was Maxi Hughes. But there were multiple times where Maxi Hughes could have actually went out in the fight, and George Kambosas was able to put him in positions where, he could have put him out. But the thing is, though, Maxi Hughes did the same thing. That's the funniest part about this fight. And Maxi Hughes, I felt, kind of did give the fight away late in the fight, because that same energy that he had from rounds 1 through 8 kind of were unmatched. But then once Kambosas figured out the rhythm of what Maxi Hughes was coming with, then that's when he became very comfortable with the fight, and the fight could go either way. So I'm not happy about the decision, but I'm not going to sit here and kick and scream about it either, because I understand how boxing works. And a guy like George Kambosas and a guy like Maxi Hughes, it was set up for Maxi Hughes to not win the fight. It's just that simple. The only way he was going to truly win is if he would have absolutely just floored Kambosas a few times in the fight, or if he'd have just knocked him out. But at the end of the day, you have to be prepared for fights to go this way because they never had any intention of Maxi Hughes winning this fight. And I'm not going to say it's rigged. I'm not going to say any of that. I'm just going to say that the fight went the way that they wanted it to go. Scoring wise, judge wise, but fights are tough. Guys are tough. And you know what? People see things in different ways. I saw somebody who had Kambosas winning the fight 117, 111. And then I saw somebody else who had Maxi Hughes, and that was actually Mark Kriegel, who's the sideline, who was the unofficial judge at the fight. He scored it 117, 111 to Maxi Hughes. So, you know, at the end of the day, when you really think about the fight, it should have just been a draw. That one judge who had it as a draw had it the right way. Because when fights get like how this one got, it's choose a side and just deal with it. And if you felt like Kambosas won the fight, then there's really no argument from my side with you. But it's like that's how you judge fights. If you had Maxi Hughes winning the fight, I see that that's how you judge fights. I had Hughes winning the fight, but I didn't have him blowing out Kambosas. That didn't happen. He won the first half of the fight kind of soundly, and the second half of the fight, Kambosas truly won that part of the fight because I gave Kambosas, I think, the last 4 out of 5 rounds. To be honest with you, got to look back on my scorecard, but I didn't give Maxi Hughes the benefit of the doubt when it came to every round after the 8th. You know what I mean? I think that I gave him the 11th in that group, but that was it. And other than that, that's the last 4 out of 5 rounds. And rounds 1 through 7, I actually had him up like 6-1 from that point. And Kambosas really didn't turn it on until those rounds of the fight that I just mentioned. So pretty much, and he really didn't turn it on either. That's the whole thing. He just started landing more convincing shots, and he started to kind of get away from those pot shots that were landing for Maxi Hughes. But as I said before, I don't have any gripes with how the decision went down because I had the feeling that they were going to do that anyway. And when you have the feeling that they were going to do that anyway, you already have yourself set up for, whatever controversy everybody's going to have. But to call it a robbery is up to you. But at the end of the day, it's a game of opinions. It's a sport of opinions. I tell people this all the time. I'll have a fight to where I got a guy winning 116, 112, and people say, am I blind? It's just a game of opinions. And at the end of the day, the only opinions that matter are the 3 guys that are sitting ringside. And whatever they decide, it is what it is at the end of the day. If it's a bad call, it's a bad call. If it's the right call, it's a right call. But at the end of the day, they're not going to change the decision. It's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. All right. So let's move on and talk about the fight that's the fight for the top of the week, because we have ourselves a pretty fun fight week because we got Spence and Crawford coming up on Saturday. We'll be talking about that all week long. But tomorrow morning, we have Fulton and Inoue fighting for the 122 WBC and the WBO belts. It's going to be a first time for Inoue at the 122 level. Inoue is 19-0 in championship fights, while Fulton is 3-0. And the crazy part about Inoue is has been fighting these type of fights since his 5th career fight in boxing. These championship fights. He started off at flyweight, then moved to super flyweight. Now he's sitting here he moved to super flyweight, then he went to bantamweight, and he's conquered 3 divisions already. And now he's looking to conquer his 3rd division. And pretty much the resume, when you look at it, 19 world title fights to 3, that's where Inoue has the edge at, big time. Because it's like a guy that's been to the Super Bowl 19 times. He knows exactly how to go about that game. You know what I mean? Fulton is been in this situation 3 times, but we're gonna say this though: Fulton fought the best 3 guys that you could fight in his division as in his world championship fights. He took the WBO belt from Angelo Leo, who was a hell of a who's a hell of a champion, who had a great story to, and then won that championship in very convincing style. Even though he was supposed to fight Fulton on top, Fulton had COVID at the time, so he couldn't make that fight. So he wound up winning the fight, and they came back around, and Fulton won a hard-nosed fight where he dominated. But I liked what I still saw out of Angelo Leo. It was still a fight that was one where, fans got their money's worth, in my opinion. Then he was able to fight Brandon Figueroa. Brandon Figueroa is probably his toughest fight to date. And I'm going to keep it real with you. I know a lot of people are probably going to get pissed off at me when I say how I just scored that fight. But if you look back on my Twitter and put in the Fulton and put in Fulton Figueroa, my scorecard is sitting right there. I actually had Brandon Figueroa winning that fight 116-112 because I felt like he landed more punches and he landed more significant punches than Fulton. But the only thing was he couldn't put Fulton down. But I felt like Fulton never hurt Brandon Figueroa, and I felt like there was multiple times that Brandon Figueroa hurt Fulton. But Fulton was game enough that day and put on a mastery boxing performance. So I can't take away the fact that he did that in that regard, but he didn't win that fight in a unanimous way like they thought he did. You know what I mean? And it was actually a split decision to be exact. So the split decision to me was correct. And I thought that, and once again, that's another fight. I felt like the worst thing that you could possibly do here was a draw. But at the end of the day, I wasn't mad about Fulton winning the fight because I was in the room with other people who actually judged Fulton and said he won the fight. So you get what I keep going back to. It's a game of opinion. So, the only opinion that matters is the three guys around the ring because they're the ones getting paid to actually judge the fight. The rest of us just have an opinion. But some of us know what we're talking about when we are judging fights, and some of us don't. It's just that simple. But at the end of the day, our choice isn't it. That's a personal thing. That's not a a facts thing. The facts are whatever the score is at the end and whatever goes on the record. That's what the facts are. But all in all, when it comes down to who wins this fight will be won by the smarter boxer. Who's the smarter boxer here? When you look at it, you say to yourself, it has to be Inoue because Inoue has been in all these situations. But no, it's really Fulton. Fulton is a guy that's from Philadelphia. He's from a very, a very tough background as well, too. So he's been built for this type of situation where you got to go in there and beat an underdog and go get your food. You know what I mean? Inoue, on the other hand, has always been seen as a phenom. Always been seen as somebody who's a superior fighter. And when you look at his resume, it's not that he has a bad resume. It's not a bad resume because he's fought all of his mandatories. He's fought everybody who was the number one contender in his weight classes once he became a champion. So he never not fought the top guys that were in his divisions. It's just that those divisions are irrelevant to the grand scheme of things in boxing. And that kind of falls up under the category for Fulton as well, too. Fulton made his noise by wanting to fight at 126. And, fighting at 122, he really never got that much attention until he beat Angelo Leo. And, pretty much that's why this fight is on ESPN Plus. This is why this fight is a big time fight for this weight class. But in the grand scheme of things, this fight would possibly be a warm-up fight for Spence Crawford on the pay-per-view 20 years ago. Let's just keep it real because these guys used to be the guys that started the night off. And, pretty much that's kind of like what we're doing here is that they're starting the fight, a great fight week off with their fight. And I truly do think when it comes down to who wins the fight, I think that everything has pretty much been put into the corner of Fulton on who's bigger, who's smarter, in a sense, who who's willing to go the extra mile, all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, the punching precision, the punching accuracy, and the punching precision of Inoue is really hard to deal with. And I truly do feel there's two type of predictions I have here. If there's a stoppage, it'll be Inoue. If it's a decision, it will be Fulton. But Fulton has to dominate for that decision. If the fight's as close as it was with Brandon Figueroa, then he loses. I'm just going to keep it real with you. And I say Inoue gets the stoppage because Inoue has proven that his power travels and it travels very well. Fulton, on the other hand, doesn't have much power. He has a good stinging punch that keeps people honest, but that's not scaring anybody. And if he sits there and bangs with Inoue, it's going to be a short night, and he will probably see the upper room if that happens. But all in all, I expect a great fight. I expect a great fight. And in reality, I'm 50-50. I'm not cheerleading to any side or anything like that. But if I got to put my money on somebody in this fight, I got to go ahead and put my money on Fulton. Because I just think that Fulton is coming in here with a lot of pressure, and he's using a lot of motivation as we speak. But the only thing that I don't like is that people are putting things on Fulton that he hasn't said or done. Fulton isn't worried about the gloves. Fulton isn't worried about the hand wraps. It's everybody around him that's worried about those situations because they keep having people texting and calling them who are playing mind games with them as well too. So I feel like whatever they're doing today, they need to shut off whatever phones, whatever distractions, and don't even worry about that stuff and just get ready for this fight because this fight determines exactly who the best little man is on the planet. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. This should be a great fight. And people do not kill me over opinion. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. So you guys are the absolute best, and we will revisit this on tomorrow once we get the result and see exactly how the fight went. I might not be up that early to watch the fight, but I will be watching the replay before I speak about the fight. You know what I mean? So with that, we're gonna go ahead and take our first commercial break, and when I get back, we're gonna jump into the MLB. We got some Blue Crew Daily, and we got some MLB news to talk about, and we also got our 3 games for today as well too. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Kappa, and I'll be right back at you.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners, and I'll have another in Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Kappa, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, we're back with the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. So let's go ahead and jump into our next topic in hand, and that's going to be this right here. This is going to be and let's make sure we got that going. But we got the Blue Crew Daily, not the Lou Crew Daily, the Blue Crew Daily. Blue Crew Daily. So we got the Blue Crew Daily. Dodgers finished road trip 6-3, won each series, and now back home to take on the Blue Jays in a 3-gamer. Now, we have a very good idea of what's going on here. It's a team that's on a mission to get back to where they belong, and that is back into the mix and back into the playoffs and solidify themselves as the West champions. You got the Diamondbacks who are playing musical chairs with the Giants right now. So you got these two teams switching it off as we speak. And the Dodgers are now 4 games ahead of everybody in the division. And so the Dodgers are just making sure that they keep themselves very, very focused on the task at hand. Win the series, move on. We're not worried about sweeping. We're not worried about any of that stuff. Just get you 2 out of 3, move on. Get you 3 out of 4, move on. It's nothing to it but to do it. The Dodgers have figured out exactly who they are. The Dodgers are in the process of making a monster deal as well, too. They got several options that are on the table right now that are making themselves a little bit more, exclusive towards things. So pretty much with that, we're going to go ahead and we will have ourselves a very, very fun topic in hand when it comes to the Dodgers over the next few months, because they just keep getting better and better by the day. And I know when they make this trade, they're going to bring in somebody that's absolutely the perfect fit. And I heard that Ariando is somebody that the Dodgers are very interested in getting, even though it's a long shot. They're willing to part with top prospects at this point to get him to come play third base. Because at the end of the day, if they can acquire Ariando, this is probably the first guy that they could acquire that will boost them to the World Series. I promise you that, because he's actually the missing link of what they need. And the Dodgers are already the 3rd best home run hitting team in baseball as is. You bring in Ariando, that just really makes your team, that gives you the World Series lineup that you need to move forward. It's that simple. And if the Dodgers can pull that off, that would be absolutely amazing. But let's talk real quick about this series. You got a Blue Jays team that's probably going to be much tougher than most people assume, because they're chasing their division as well, too. And they're at the point right now to where they actually can, make that move and make a strong move at that as well, too. So, we have a very, very good problem. You have a team that's 6.5 games back from first place right now, and they have won their last 6 out of 10, and they're looking to go on a nice winning streak. They only find themselves 4.5 behind Tampa Bay at this point. They're in the playoffs as well, too. So that's something that to look forward to for Toronto. But they want to catch these teams, and they are in a good spot. They're a team that if they can really get hot and really make the move that they need to make, and especially win their next few series against the Orioles and the Rays, they could find themselves in first place. And that's what I'm saying, is that the Blue Jays just seem like they have the field measured at this point. And they may make a monster deal this week. It all depends on how they perform this week as well, too, though, because they're still holding off the Yankees and the Red Sox. And literally, they're holding them off for the final playoff spot. The final playoff spot is against the 3 teams in the AL East. So this is going to be a crazy race. It's just something that they can't fall off in. But tonight, the way that I see this series setting up, the Dodgers probably will be in a position to where they're going to be a little slow tonight. Even though they played yesterday and they lost yesterday in Texas. And, it feels like it should be a bounce back. They've won their last 7 out of 10 games. I don't know. You know what I mean? I just don't know. I think the Dodgers really do need to go in here with the attitude that, we have to keep playing top flight baseball, but they're coming back home for the first time in almost 2 weeks. And so this is going to be something that they have to adjust to. And, they're coming fresh off of the All-Star break too. They haven't played at home since a few Saturdays ago. So they're going to be back, but they can't come in there with the mentality that they've already won the game because they're coming back for, that because they're at home. And that's where you get into a little bit of trouble. And you got a Blue Jays team that wants to put themselves in position to get closer to that lead and to keep themselves in the playoff picture as one of those teams, because they're not going to shake off Houston. And the way the Rays are going right now, if they can stay steady, they'll be fine. But the way the Rays have kind of tailored off, this team is starting to become in danger of falling all the way to the point to where they missed the playoffs, because they went from having a 13-game lead to now only having a 4.5-game lead over the rest of the teams chasing the playoffs. And they need to just put it all together and step it up. But at the end of the day, that's exactly what we're seeing here. So with that, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next topic in hand. And that's going to be for talking about some Monday Night Baseball. We got 10 games tonight. We got some pretty good series going on as well, too. We have the Reds and the Brewers hooking up for their third series this month. You got the Orioles and the Phillies. You have the Rangers and the Astros. You also have the Twins and the Mariners going at it this week. And then you have the Pirates and the Padres. Very important series for both teams moving forward. So you got some really good matchups coming up. Tonight, though, it's Monday, so you don't have a full schedule, but you got some games that do move the needle. And the first one up is going to be the Orioles and the Phillies, two of the hottest teams in baseball. You have the Orioles, who now own the best record in the AL, even though they don't, and they actually do own the best record in the AL now as well, too, because before it was 58-60. Now it's 61-61, and they're up a game, because what happens is that they're 61-38, while the Rays are 61-40. They actually went ahead and did incredible things this weekend with that series. Then you have the Phillies, who just cut it on and have become one of the hotter teams in the last few months in baseball after such a slow start to the season. They find themselves in second place in the playoff picture as well, too, and moving forward to trying to solidify themselves as that playoff team as well, too. So you have a really good game going on tonight, and really just pretty much a good series going on as well, too. So when you look at the numbers and you look at everything and how it sets up tonight, you got Sanchez going against Creamer. Creamer's pitching for the Orioles. Philly has Sanchez on the mound. So how I feel about this one is this game actually goes under, because there's going to be a lot of pressure on both sides coming into the game tonight, in my opinion. So for that pressure to get a little eased off, they're going to have their pitchers really duel it out. Even though they didn't call me and tell me this, I just feel like they're going to have a nice pitcher's duel tonight. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and take the under 9.5 for this spot. Then we have the Rockies plus 1.5 with the plus 1.5 with the minus 160. And pretty much this is going to be a very, very good reaction to it. When you look at what's going on with this game tonight, and I really do feel like the under should be a good spot. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. All right, we got the Reds and the Brewers. Brewers have taken 5 out of 6 in the series this month, and for the year, they've actually taken 7 out of 9 in the series. So, pretty much they own the tiebreaker, if there is a tiebreaker. going on. Yeah, it is. And pretty much if it comes down to that both these teams being tied at the end of the year, the Brewers would be the winner of the division. But the Reds have worked themselves into the position to where they're actually in a wild card position as well, too. We couldn't say that 6 weeks ago about this division when everybody was either 500 or below 500. So the Reds have worked themselves into a good spot with a good last little 6 weeks and everything like that. But the Reds haven't had a struggling month, but the first month of the season. And they come into this one probably have the advantage when it comes to the pitcher because they have Ashcraft pitching tonight. But Ray has been really good against the Reds this year. And that's what I factor in tonight for this game. But when I really do get the gist of it and we really break it on down tonight, I truly do feel that what happens here is that the Brewers actually come up in this game tonight. Even though I'm going to surprise you when we get to talking tickets, I just truly feel tonight the Brewers send another message and they're going to get really comfortable because they're going to feel a certain way about the Reds after they get done doing this. So I'm taking the 1.5 tonight plus 170. That should be a good situation for us tonight. It's a lot of value there. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. All right, so we have ourselves the Rangers and the Astros tonight. These two teams are the teams atop of the AL West. And from how I see it right now, you have a Houston team that's 3 games back straight up. And they've won their last 6 out of 10, while the Rangers have won their last 7 out of 10. But the Rangers did drop 2 out of 3 this weekend to the Dodgers after sweeping the Rays. And the Dodgers absolutely crushed them in both of the games Friday and Saturday, beating them 11-5 and 16-3. Yesterday, they got out to an early start and they beat the Dodgers 8-4. But all in all, though, when you look at what's going on here, the Rangers have to stay steady because if they don't stay steady, they're going to get caught. Well, they're going to probably get caught anyway, but this is a very important series coming up this week for the Astros. The Rangers, on the other hand, they're still breathing, but not breathing easy. So if they were to lose this series, they're still up. You know what I mean? So pretty much the Astros know that they really got to win this series this week because they want to eat into this lead so they can solidify themselves as a for sure playoff team. Because at this point right now, you can't depend on being a wild card team. And that goes for both these squads. They have to look at it like this. Whoever wins the division, that's who's getting into the playoffs. Even though they are 2 of the better teams in the American League at this point, you just have a division in the East where they have all 5 teams with 500 records, and they're all literally playing for the playoff spot. So you know that it's going to be a lot of parity going on within that group. But with these two, you know that one of them's due for a long losing streak, and it's probably the Rangers, who haven't had one all season. So pretty much with that, the Rangers pitching isn't up to the standard that it takes to really be an October team, in my opinion. They have the hitting that you need for October, but they don't have the pitching. And it seems like a lot of guys are starting to go to the IR as well, too, who are in the hitting department. Corey Seager is going to miss 10 days, but really he'll miss 20. So pretty much, where do the Rangers go from there? Well, you could tell that their offense was a little limited without Seager in those few games. Even though they got some good effort yesterday, this is something that you're going to have to keep an eye on. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But tonight, I do like the over here with the Rangers and the Astros. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take one more commercial break. And when I get back, we're going to jump into Talkin Tickets. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Captain.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash, and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug Inoue, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug Inoue. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right, we're back with the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. So let's go ahead and jump into my next topic in hand, and it's going to be this, and that's going to be this, and pretty much it's Talkin Tickets, your favorite subject, my favorite subject. So let's talk about it, Talkin Tickets. All right, so up first, we have ourselves the MLB Series Bets. We split them last week. We went even last week, so, you know, it's all good, but we went even last week. We had the Reds show up for us, the Giants showed up for us, and we also had the Red Sox show up for us as well, too. Actually, Giants did not show up for us. They lost their series. But the Reds minus 115, the Red Sox minus 115, Guardians plus 115. Everybody else, though, you let us down. So pretty much Tigers, Giants, and Brewers, they all lost. So tonight, this is where we're going. We're going to go ahead and we're going to throw in this group tonight. We're going to go with the Phillies minus 145 in this Orioles series. We also have the Nats minus 170 in their series versus the Rockies. Then we're going to take the Reds to actually win this series this time around and kind of get themselves back on the right foot. I like them with the plus 130 this week. Then we also have the minus 145 to the Astros, who I feel like could possibly sweep this series this week. And then we have the Cards with the plus 170 as well today. So pretty much I like them going into their game as well and into this series. And then we got the White Sox series, but actually I think this is not the White Sox. This is going to be the Pirates. So don't take anything. Yeah, that's going to be the Pirates. It's not the White Sox. It's the Pirates. So pretty much the Pirates are the plus 300, not the White Sox. Sorry about that right there, but I will switch that up when we get to the when I tweet it out for the show. But that's going to be the Pirates, not the White Sox. All right, so let's move forward to the MLB PrimeTime PK6. We have the under 9.5 with the Orioles and the Phillies. We also had the Rockies plus 1.5. Our dog of the day is going to be the Royals plus 165. Our Twins money line is going to be minus 115 today. The Brewers minus 1.5 plus 170. Yeah, I have them losing the series, but I have them winning the game tonight to give the Reds some motivation to win the rest of the series. And then we have the over 9 with the Astros and the Rangers. This is going to be an 80-1 ticket. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out, and we move from there. So I thank you guys very much for tuning in today. You guys are the absolute best. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll be talking Inoue, Fulton, seeing exactly who wins the fight and why they won the fight and all that good stuff. Then we'll talk a little bit about Crawford and Spence, which is going to be tomorrow. Grand arrivals, you know, and we'll throw in some more NFL talk. And we'll bring in a little college basketball tomorrow. I feel like talking a little college hoops tomorrow. So you guys make sure to tune in to the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. And as I always say, bet with your head and not with your heart. The movement is moving, and I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.